Hello and welcome back to the shop. This is my WPL C44 and it is extremely competent. And this is my MN Models MN40, which is considerably less competent. The first problem is apparent as soon as you try and drive it. I think it's safe to say that the 260 size motor is widely considered to lack torque. You have to sort of squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, and then you finally give it enough so it jumps over an obstacle, and then you have to frantically back off before it leaps over the edge of a cliff. The long can version, the 280, has far more torque. But that lack of torque isn't the only thing that stops it challenging the WPL. There's one other really annoying niggle, and to spot it we have to look at the truck from underneath. It's this bulge which accommodates the spur gear. I must admit that the next thing has never been a problem for me. It has a chassis mounted steering servo, whereas the later MN models have gone over to an axle mounted servo. Today I plan to address all those problems. And how will I do that? Like this. This is a brand new MN99S V2. It has that torquier, longer can 280 motor. It has a flush underside. And it has an axle mounted steering servo. Even better, each body is retained only by 6 screws. Let's get it swapped. Here's the 99S, and you can see why I was so keen to switch motors. That says 60T. This is a 60 turn crawler motor. No wonder it's a lot torquier than the 260. And as if by magic, all of a sudden we have the updated chassis with the flat bottomed gearbox, axle mounted steering servo, a much more sensible rear spring rate given that the MN99S V2 has its battery up front, so it doesn't need very stiff springs to support the weight, and that 60 turn crawler motor. I'm not going to try and tout this as some sort of WPL versus MN which is better video, because I can tell you the answer straight away. The WPL is better. But I do want these two vehicles to at least be able to go out and play together, and that's what I've been trying to achieve. I've given the MN40 the absolute best opportunity I possibly could. It's got the best of everything now that you can get in the RTR world. So, with that said, let's go and play. So much for me saying that the WPL was definitely better, but finding traction on sand is only one skill out of a sort of pretty varied skill set that I expect these things to possess. So much for my confident assertion that I knew which one would do better. I think we also discovered something else during that run, and that is that I'm not good at driving two cars at once. However, I think we can see in this shot why the MN might have done better. Its original MN99 SV2 tyres are far wider than those of the WPL, and I think that will have helped with flotation. Let's take them somewhere where the WPL's better torque will be more relevant. And when I said that about finding somewhere where the superior torque of the WPL would be more relevant, I was referring to mud. So I've come out in search of some mud. With both vehicles currently on dry land, the course starts immediately in front of them. I'm hoping they'll make it through this lot and either across my tyre track and up through here, or they might have to turn right and make it out that way. The WPL is completely stuck. Well, once again, these two vehicles have confounded my expectations. I privately expected the WPL to end up towing the MN99 out of the mud. So, let's go and find ourselves an environment where the WPL's superior torque really counts. The rocks. Well, it turns out that I was very lucky that the green FJ45 is equipped with a tow hook, given to me by my mate Dave. And I confess I'm quite surprised that it ended up being the MN99 that rescued the C44. I haven't seen the footage, but I can't help wondering whether I need to glue the WPL's tyres to the rims. Perhaps the wheels were spinning within the tyres when it was stuck in that mud. I think the next thing for me to do is to glue the C44's tyres firmly to its rims and then go and find some rocks. The cars are at a very steep hill, which I often use in my tests. Unfortunately, video often doesn't convey steepness of gradients, so it just looks as though they're rather weakling RC cars driving along a flat surface and making heavy weather of it. But it is a good way for me to assess them. Let's try the WPL first, over some slow obstacles. I have high hopes of this machine, especially now that I've glued the tyres to the rims. I didn't find that easy, but it's going well now. Stop then because I knew I was going to roll. Let's move the camera to where it currently is. I won't move the car. I think I would have been alright to have carried on actually, without too much risk of rolling. We're at that tricky last rock where I've got stuck so often before. Should have hit it with some speed, shouldn't I? Oh, there we are. The WPL has done it. I'm interested to see how the MN99 will do. This is the same obstacle which was quite a challenge for the WPL. You get your wheel on there. Oh, well, I sort of accidentally went round it. I'm going to take that as a win. Let's move the camera. This shouldn't be too tricky for it. Comes the tricky rock. Oh. Should we redo that bit? Take two. I think, to be honest, these results reflect more on my one-handed driving skills than they do on the relative abilities of the two vehicles. I think we've done it. Oops. Side by side. Last time I had these two here, underneath the green body was an MN40 and its performance was so dismal that I cut it out of the video to save MN's shame. Move the camera so you can see where it ended up there. It's still on its wheels. I'll find another place to put the camera. Sorry about the wind, but we did it in the WPL. I'll move the camera again so you can see where it ended up. Well, I was complaining about it not having enough torque. It's got enough torque to do that. I'm interested to see how the WPL will do here. Into the canyon. Oh, that's very good. That's that tow hitch. I'll find somewhere to put the camera. It's at the mouth of the canyon. This is not easy. I'm impressed. I think I'm going to have to call this a draw. Well, that was interesting. When I started this set of tests, I really expected the WPL to win hands down. And I noticed that I started to want the WPL to win so that I would be proved right. And I was tempted to add a side slope test, which I knew the WPL would win, just to make it come out on top. But that seems petty and absurd. I will say that I love driving both these trucks, but I do enjoy the WPL a little more because of that fine low down control that feels almost like field oriented control that you get just from having a torquier, bigger motor and always having plenty of torque at hand and never having to wait while it builds up the impetus to jump over something. It just clambers over everything as a proper off-roader should. Having said that, the MN99S is an excellent product. Ultimately, it's down to the individual to decide which they prefer. Either way, thanks for watching.